one diagnosis I think we can rule out is definitely pubic foot.
I wanna taste the pain. I think I'm seeing all red. 2 bullets in the gun, 1 shot to the head. I need a blank space.
Morning guys. Last weekend I ran a half marathon whilst injured. As runners, I'm sure we've all run through various niggles or injuries at different points, and probably all learn from the experience. You may have noticed that at the moment I'm walking with a bit of a limp. I'm favouring my left ankle. The Achilles is quite tight round there. So all this begs the question, should you run or race when you're injured? Of course not, would be the sensible and safe answer, and the one that I would suggest to you, given that I don't know your circumstances and I'm not a doctor. But the fact is, I did race. So the question I'm going to answer now is, why did I race despite being injured? So leading up to this half marathon, I'd set out a plan where I was going to race a 5k, 10k, half marathon and then a marathon, with about 1 month in between each race. And I've got my training plan together to get me through all of those 4 races. 5k and 10k went really well, got PBs, and then it came to almost 2 weeks before the half marathon, and I was out on a training run, practicing in the shoes that I was going to be wearing for the half marathon, and started developing pain in my left foot and ankle area. So that was enough for me to immediately realise that this was quite a serious problem, not something I should be training through over the coming days. So I decided to stop running at that point until I was completely pain-free, or it got so close to race day that I just needed to do a short test run just to find out whether I was in any kind of fit state to be able to take part in the Monsal Trail Half Marathon. So once the injury occurred, I posted a video about it on my channel. And one of the huge benefits of having a running YouTube channel is that when you have a situation you've not encountered before, you need some advice from friendly runners, putting a video out there explaining the situation, you just get a huge host of helpful responses from people who want to help you get through it and share their advice, their experience and their knowledge. But coming back to why I actually did the race, given that I'd injured my foot less than 2 weeks before the race. With this plan I had laid out to do 4 races, this is one of the ones I was most looking forward to. It started off in my hometown of Bakewell. It was on the Monsal Trail route, which I really enjoyed when I went out for a practice run on there a few weeks ago. And the half marathon distance is one I felt like I was really looking forward to racing. I've only done 1 half marathon prior to that. That was at Macclesfield, and I thought I could get a better time on this one, enjoy the surroundings more, and yeah, it was going to be probably my favourite race of the year. The marathon, on the other hand, I'd chosen the only marathon I could find which was in a reasonably sensible travelling distance at the time of year that fit in with my timings of my plan. So at the end of November, the Alton Park Marathon was well over a 2 hours drive from home. I would be travelling there, running the marathon and travelling home again, which wasn't going to be ideal. And the race itself is a lapped route, so you basically do the same lap around this racetrack 10 times. And a friend of mine on Strava commented that he'd done the half marathon there before, and even that was quite boring. And I can imagine that repetitive nature of running around the loop time and time again. 10 laps wasn't going to be the most exciting, thrilling race of my life. So I wasn't going into that completely looking forward to it, if I'm honest. I like the idea of getting a marathon done, having never run a road marathon before. But that particular one, at that particular time, it just happened to fit the criteria to go with my ambitious plan of getting 4 PBs in 4 different distances over 4 months. So it was convenient, but not exciting. Amongst all the helpful comments I got on my video about the injury, quite a few people suggested perhaps putting off the half marathon and getting myself fully recovered in time to do the marathon, which seemed sensible. A lot of people would prioritise the marathon and think that that would be the main race at the end of this journey. I wasn't quite thinking the same way. As discussed, the half was much higher on my list of priorities than the marathon, and I was looking forward to that one a lot more. So the other option, of course, would be to get through the half marathon, perhaps nurse my way through that, depending on how bad the injury was, and then take time to recover afterwards and put off or cancel the marathon. So with that in mind, I decided to do the marathon unless it really didn't seem like a good idea with the injury. So 2 days prior to the race, I went out for a gentle-ish 2k test run just to see how the ankle felt and the foot and wherever else I was getting pain in that area. So on that little test run I did, I was able to run. Had to try to land a bit more flat-footed on my left foot just to stop the Achilles from stretching too far, and yeah, I was just able to get around there without it getting more than a kind of 2 out of 10 level of discomfort. And then of course the next day I was very careful to monitor what effect that had had on the injury and whether it made it considerably worse, and whether I thought I could get away with doing about 10 times the distance on the Sunday when it came to the race. Anyone who's done any kind of serious running training will know that the chances of carrying some kind of small niggle or ache or pain at any point during your training is reasonably high, especially if you're ramping things up and peaking towards a race. So what we have to do in those situations, in my experience, is make a judgment call. Do you think, based on what you've been through before, previous injuries, how it feels, and your own intuition, do you think you can get through the next run without making it significantly worse? Obviously, when we make those judgment calls, we're not always going to be right. If that was the case, we wouldn't have so many injured runners out there. But yeah, I trusted myself to make this judgment call. I knew that if things got bad during the race and the pain was getting worse and worse, I could just stop. The other thing that was in my mind was, I've only got to get through one more run and then it's rest and recovery, get the injury sorted out. And it wasn't like I was planning to keep training and building up towards the marathon. That was kind of already cancelled in my head. Yeah, I didn't think I'd be going ahead with that at this point. So I had one run to get through. So what was the result? Having run the half marathon with the foot/Achilles problem, came out of the race obviously with the pain higher than it had been going in. It had gradually increased as the race had gone on, as you would probably expect, but not to the point where I felt worried that it was going to go ping or twang. I was limping a bit, you know, hobbling around. For the couple of days afterwards, that was the same, and it gradually improved as the days went by. Generally speaking, I can carry on with my day-to-day life. So yeah, quite a few people had their own kind of horror stories, their anecdotes of times when they'd run when injured and then later on regretted it, wish they hadn't. So yeah, we all have to bear that in mind. As runners, we do tend to keep running even when there's an element of doubt over our current fitness. And like I said at the beginning, you just need to make that judgment call, and sometimes you're going to get it wrong. This time, although nothing catastrophic has happened yet, and I'm trying to be sensible with the recovery, I'm not expecting to be back running anytime soon. My plans are kind of more forward thinking and longer term. One of the other insightful comments on the video pointed out that runners do like to diagnose their own injuries, which isn't always accurate. And that definitely includes me. I can't always afford immediate treatment with every niggle or small injury. So you look it up, try and figure out what it is, see what the general patterns, the techniques for recovering from that or a similar injury. You may have misdiagnosed it. And quite often it involves rest. So even if you guess completely wrong, but you take some time off running because that's how you treat the injury you thought it was, then yeah, whatever it is going to gradually get better over time. So the marathon's cancelled now, although they don't give refunds run through. They do allow you to pay £5 to move your entry to a different race, which is what I've done. and there's a Carsington Water Half Marathon in February next year. So with the half marathon booked for February, my A race, if you like, is still going to be the Spire Ultra in May next year. So as I attempt to get over this injury and back into running, the first question is, will things go to plan? Will I be able to recover in time to get fit for that half marathon in February and the Ultra in May? And finally, will there be any long-term effects of having this injury and running through it, or will it come back to haunt me further down the line? We'll find these things out over the coming months. Please stick around, follow the story, see how I get on following this Achilles injury, see if I can get that PB in the half marathon and do that 50k in less than 7 hours. It's going to be a challenge, I know it is. I'm right at the beginning as we stand. If you do want to subscribe to my channel to follow the story, it is free. Just press the button and watch the subscribe account go up by one. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.